Hello everyone and welcome back to my shop. This is Josh, 55210 here on YouTube, and today's video is going to be working on the tow board and other repairs that are necessary in the area. So in the last video I wrapped up the passenger side tow board and kick panel area with the last part that was that cowl to floor brace, and now it's time to get going on the driver's side. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the original cowl to floor brace that's left over on this one. I know that the kick panel is going to require me to take a pretty good size patch and weld that into the bottom before I can put the new floor section in. So I'll get it cleaned up and see what's awaiting me whenever I get the floor out itself. So and then I'm also going to trim down the new patch panel to an oversize for the floor, and that'll give me the chance to play with my new toy. So I grabbed a plasma cutter so I can cut those longer straight runs and be a little more efficient at it. And I also grabbed another GoPro camera so that I can have multiple angles on the shots, and maybe if I'm blocking a shot with my head on something while I'm doing welding, or it'd be interesting to see something from the other side, I can have the other camera set up and do that. So this will be a test run on multi-angle, multi-camera shots. So let's see how that works out. But I'm going to get this set up and get started cutting off the different sections. I also need to finish removing the pulley bracket down there for the parking brake, and I'll just give everything a real good once over. I don't know if I need to take this one off, possibly, and also try and extract the screw from the hole there. That's the dimmer switch. I mentioned it before. I don't know exactly yet. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go with the factory style dimmer switch that goes through the floor, or if I want to get like a later style floor patch section that has the pocket where the dimmer switch mounts from inside the car, because the through the floor location that was on the 55 Chevys is not the best, being exposed to the everything that gets kicked up from the wheel. So, but I got plenty of time to figure that out. Right now, start cutting. Alright, I wanted to stop and show you guys what I'm seeing. So I got that portion of the cowl to floor brace cut off, and you can see what's left here is a edge weld on that piece of sheet metal. So it wasn't spot welded, it was pressed up against it, and a weld bead was run along the edge here. So that's where on the time lapse you can see me hitting it with a hammer. I actually bent the flange down so I could get to the weld bead and just cut on that. You can see the crunchiness here. So this is two panels sandwiched together. I'm gonna turn this a little bit. Right underneath the floor vent area, there's the seam for this piece, and it's kind of rotting through from the backside. Looks like maybe the seam sealer, and there's a little bit that I left up here. Looks like that seam sealer was holding the moisture in that seam right here and rotting stuff out. So I'm gonna have to make a new brace section for right here. And yeah, I knew I was gonna have to put something in there, but it won't be too bad. Yeah, still got a little work to take the last little piece of this brace out, but and I think that was the same that I saw on the other side. It was welded with like a bead of weld over here and like spot welded on this side. So we'll see what it looks like whenever I get this one ground out. But I was running low on that grinding wheel, and I haven't run out and bought any more for a little while, so I only have a couple of them left, so trying to be a little sparing with it. But yeah, I got this cleaned up as far as I want to go right now, because to get in there and fix all that, I'm going to have the floor out, because the inner piece goes down and then makes a 90-degree, and that's the outer portion of this. There's a little step right here, and it's the outer portion of that, and it'll just be easier to get access to it when I can reach around and through the floor and can make my template for it. So I'll pull this outer piece off, fix the inner one, and then put a new outer brace section in here. That's the plan. So I think the next step here will be going on the other side, getting these two bolts out from the forward side. That's what's left of the pulley bracket for the parking brake handle. That parking brake pulley is rotted all the way around that, so there's really not that much left. But I'll see if I can get those bolts to come out, spray them with some penetrant, and I'll get the last of that out of here. And then I'll trim up the new floor section after that. So bolts out first, then new floor section. So here we go. Of course. There we go. Too big. Feels like it just right. I think it's going to be easier if I just cut that out with the plasma and take it off later with the geometry here. Had to use a wobble to get on the inner bolt here. There's actually, oh, there we go, 4 of them that holds this first pulley on when it passes through the firewall. There's 2 that come from the inside and then 2 that come in from the outside. So that's interesting. Save those. Get my ratchet. No, that came easy. Penetrant's good. Not a lot of thread engagement in those. There we go. Fish that thing out. Yeah, I think that inner one, because it's so tied up in there and it's so rotten around it, I'm just going to use the plasma cutter and cut that piece off, and then I'll unbolt it once it's off the car. So, All right, I think it's time to move to cutting. So you can see most of this is rotted around here. So I'm just going to take the plasma cutter and kind of make a little cut around that way, just so the pulley bracket will fall right off, and then I don't have to worry about severing the cable for the parking brake under there and having to replace one, because it actually looks like it's in pretty good shape. And then I'll just kind of hack away with this plasma cutter really close and save some grinding wheels and some time. So anyway, here we go. Let's get after it. It makes pretty quick work of it. I wanted to make a quick mention about safety when using a plasma cutter. It's just like using a welder. These aren't cool shades. They are protective eyewear. This is actually cutting shade lenses, not just sunglasses off the shelf. Those will not work. Get proper protective lenses. My welding helmet, the auto darkening, also has a setting for cutting, so you could use that. I just use this one because it's less hot, less cramped and stuff, but either one. But use the proper eyewear. Don't just close your eyes or kind of look away. You know, when you have the cutting torch in contact with the workpiece, you really can't see the arc very much, but occasionally you come up a little bit, or you can see the arc through the cut, or the hot spatter that's coming off of there is actually glowing red, and that's infrared. Damage your eyes. The electric arc is ultraviolet. That was also damage your eyes. So you really want to make sure you're wearing proper protective wear when you're using one of these things, and make sure everything's clear on the other side. You don't have fire hazard stuff laying around, because the sparks will hit the ground and kind of scatter. So don't have paper, shop towels, leaves. You know, make sure that everything's clean around where you're going to use one of these when you are using one. But when you do have everything set up nice, it cuts pretty quick. You know, that's a pretty nice little rough freehand hole there, so I can see what's going on. I had to be kind of cautious when cutting down on this lower portion because I didn't want to nick the support there, but I did need to get that cleaned up. So I'll have to do the same thing I did on the other side, where I kind of peel it up a little bit, you know, lift it with a pry bar or something so I can clean this flange off. But I just wanted to kind of rough cut the big junk out of there so I can see over here and get to this stuff. Part of that is I'm using, you know, a cutoff wheel or something like that. It can be a little easier, and instead of trying to come down when you're getting tight like this, you can't get to it, but coming in from the bottom you can get to the edge a little better. So that's why I wanted to cut that hole. So anyway, I'm going to I think I'm going to go ahead and rough trim cut while I have the plasma set up the panel off of that large piece that I got up here. That one, and cut the hump that I don't need, just so I can get a better idea of the overall size of the patch and what I've got to work with, how high up I can go. Because there's parts on here, like this is for the steering column mount, the support bracket, and the nuts there, and then these nuts are for that other pulley, the first pulley that the cable comes through for the parking brake. And I don't know quite how high up I'm going to go. That stuff actually looks in pretty decent shape. Yeah, I just want to see what I got available. So anyway, I'll cut that panel and be right back. you can see here the material that's just all gone right there. It's probably 3 inches long or so, just all gone. That's this support panel here. The inner one, I'm pushing, not quite going. There we go, poke through. So first thing I'm going to do next is cut this panel off on its spot welds. So you know, this is just like the passenger side was. I cut the floor off and it's still 3 layers thick right here. So I'm going to take this next layer off, that's that support, down up this seam and across. I can kind of see some of the spot welds along there, but I'm just going to take that whole panel off, and then I can see what's behind there, fix that, and then come up with a new panel replacement for this one to put that back in. But I think right now I'm gonna go take a break and grab some supper because I'm getting a little hungry. I'll go grab something to eat and then be back out in a little bit. Well, coming back from dinner turned into 3 days later. It happens, whatever, got busy. So back out here. I think what I'm gonna try and tackle today is at first I'm gonna make a template of this piece that I'm going to cut out with that rust hole there. Make a cardboard template, or paper, whatever I can grab. Maybe a piece of a cereal box, I don't know. I'll see what I got. And yeah, template this thing so when I cut it off I know exactly what it needs to be for the replacement piece. And then after I get that template made, I'll cut this part off, see what it looks like on the back side. Probably need to make another patch for that as well. Get that patched in. Probably won't get it welded in, but we'll just see how far we get. But yeah, that's my on my agenda for today. So snap to it. just cleaning up the back side of that piece of metal that I used. The donor piece is really clean on one side and got some surface rust on the other, so I need to get rid of that because this is actually the side that's going to go up against the existing sheet metal in the car. So need that to be clean. But yeah, just using those little setup magnets as a like magnetic clamp. Working pretty good. Hold it to the table. So yeah, first knocking it off with a wire wheel on the drill, and then I'll go grab my orbital sander and knock down the rest of this with some 80 grit paper on it and get this backside cleaned up. to Chevy. I left this flange a little long on purpose. And then this is the overlap for this other piece here. So, yeah, looks about right. So, next up here is going to be cutting this old piece out and seeing what kind of damage is back there. But at least I know I've got a good part to go in here as a replacement. Now there is, on the part I'm taking out, it's gonna cut back, angle back that way, and I carried this one out over here, so maybe I'll make a trim cut like that just so it matches, but I can mark that. I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. It's not gonna hurt anything. It'll just be overlapped for the floor, but one metal thickness isn't gonna hurt anything. So, all right. Time to cut that thing out. Yeah. I really like these self-firing center punches. Pretty nice. Not having to figure out how to get a hammer in and swing on that. Just push it and it's spring-loaded. They put plenty of spot welds in this. And just the upper portion. The bottom half from here down has none. I can see some pinch spots, but I'm not quite sure it's welded these last couple, so I'll start drilling them out from the top, and they just might separate before I get down here, but I'm still going to mark them anyway, because maybe they won't. Yeah. There was only one, that top one. It's got all these pinch marks from those other ones being pressed, and I think it's the exact same thing that happened on the seat back there, where they got pinched, but it didn't actually complete the spot weld. That's crazy. I can put this in here no problem, all the way down. So, not very well spot welded. Like I said, you could tell when the machine was clamping down on it, but it wasn't passing the current through it. Their welder wasn't set up correctly. When was this thing made? Like November of 1954. Yep, wasn't set up right. This must have been a Monday morning car. I know it was a Tuesday, but yeah. I'm gonna grab this camera and we'll see if I can't show you something interesting. So, let's see here. Yeah, there we go. So that outer cover, the cowl to floor brace that I cut off was welded right here. And it was welded in a seam instead of spot welded, which kind of surprised me, because there are spot welds. You can kind of see the dimple from the spot weld right here. But yeah, that was welded in a seam, and you can see where the person doing the welding arced on the part until they got to it. Or they did it in proper fashion and did it welding bottom to up, and when they pulled the electrode off from a stick weld, when they broke the contact, the arc, as they were pulling away, wandered over here until it ended. That's a very interesting thing to see. When I was in welding school, I was used to seeing this kind of stuff when practicing structural steel welding, not when dealing with car spot welding. So I thought that would be something interesting to point out. I found a spot on the car that was stick welded on the sheet metal body. Very interesting. All right, I'm gonna get back to cutting this thing off. well, I got most of that cleaned off, and I'm about to head inside because I can hear some thunder going on. But got that picked off, kind of cleaned up, ground off. I found one penetration hole right here and one right here, and then there's also the one that I drilled out to remove the spot, and it's a little thin right here, so I'm probably going to make a triangular patch that comes over down to that flange and back over. And I think the piece that's attached to this flange that's on the outside also needs a little bit of repair, but I'll do this one first and see what it looks like from the inside, see what I can clean up, and then maybe make the patch on the far side, then weld this one in, and then put that cap that I bent up and cut earlier over all of this. So that's the plan. But yeah, when you're living in the Midwest and you hear thunder on a warm spring afternoon, probably a good idea to go into the house and kind of check on the weather. So that's what I'm going to do, and I think that'll do it for tonight. So I'll get out here after work tomorrow and pick up where I left off. All right, well, got through the storm with no issues, which is good with how windy it is. I've been having some trees falling down around the property lately, so it's good not to lose one. But did my usual cleaning since the last time I was out here, just sweep and pick up and rearrange and all this stuff. Still a little cluttered, but yeah, brought my table over, put the drill press on there, you know, kind of just swept and picked up a little bit. But I got started on cutting out that inner portion of the kick panel just to have a look, and yeah, no surprise why that rusted. You see all this leaf litter in here. You know, that stuff comes in down the cowl and can't get out. So yeah, I'm gonna vacuum all that stuff out of there, open this cut up a little bit bigger, and then get in and with a wire brush really clean all that up inside as best as I can. Paint it up with some like POR 15 or the rust encapsulator from Eastwood that I got out here. I got POR in the other garage, so I'll just use what's closer, that stuff. But yeah, get it all painted up and ready to put the new piece in to replace what I just cut out, and then that will be sitting behind the patch I just made a little earlier in the video. So it's sandwiched a couple of panels thick, but yeah, I had to get this stuff out of here first, and then I can, once I get that vacuumed, I can see if there's any rust issues that I got to cut out on the panel where all that stuff is resting on it right now, all that leaf litter and junk. But yeah, get this stuff picked out, and then if I find anything interesting, I'll jump back on it, and if not, might skip ahead a little bit to some of the rust prep stuff. So, all right, I'm back out here. Since the last time I was out here, I got the inside of the area that I cut out all painted up with the rust preventative, you know, paint. Got it all cleaned up inside there, looking pretty good. I decided to pull the door off, and yeah, there's some gouging and awfulness there that I'm gonna have to reconstruct for the upper mount. I don't know why that was done. Maybe the hinge was stuck or something, I don't know, but that's kind of ugly. Should look a little more like this, but I do have the other side to pattern off of and look at. And then inside at the bottom, you can kind of see there's a little hole right there, so that part will need cut out and patched in, but I can get that from the bottom side. It's actually, I was aware of it down here. You know, you can see that hole right there, so easier to get to, not so bad. I'll just get to it from the bottom side. But yeah, I got this thing, the door pulled off just to make it easier to get around and access stuff. I'm just tired of opening and closing and opening and closing and opening and closing the door. It's like, just pull it off of there. So, and it's a beautiful rainy day. This is one of my favorite times to be working out in the shop, when the temperatures are like upper 60s, low 70s. You got a slow, steady rain just trickling in. I can open the shop door and just listen to that white noise of the rain in the background. It is glorious. I love it this time of year. Fantastic. So, anyway, I think I'm gonna get started making that patch to cover in right here, and then get that thing welded in. So here we go. Well, I went ahead and sprayed the backside of this part with the cold galvanizing spray, that weld through primer, since this flange is going to be overlapping with the other one, and I'll prepare that seam on the body here as well. I'll get that ground down right here and prepped with the same weld through primer, so it's got as good a chance of holding together over time as it can. Yeah, I'll get that one set up into place here and burned in, and then knock down the welds just a little bit, enough where I can get the cover piece, that second panel, installed. So I'll do the same with that one. I'll probably set it down here while I've got the little setup, and spray the cover panel as well with that weld through primer on the backside where they're going to be sandwiched. So I'll flip this piece over. Well, I think I'll spray that after I get it ground in, but before I put the outside panel on, I can get that in place on the car, get that all sealed up. But making some decent progress. The sun's popped out now, so yeah, after all that earlier rain, it's kind of sticky out here. I am considering turning the air conditioning on today. Haven't needed it otherwise. It's fairly cool, but it's just so humid, it's sticky. Alright, well, I've got this one fitting in how I want it. I had to do a little bit of tweaking with the hand file on the hole that I already got cut out, because I want it to line up to the nice straight edge that I cut on the patch panel itself. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this one burned in, and then I'll grind off the welds from getting this on, get the weld through primer sprayed on it, and get this all prepped for the next panel to go in on top. I've got this new outer panel clamped up in place. Got it clamped to this front piece where it's a lap seam, and then the flange clamped here and here. Just kind of seeing how it looks pressed up against this wall piece here. I am going to drill a couple of holes for a couple of spot weld, little rosette welds on this webbing here, just to tie into the inner patch, and then I put this thing back on and then start running my welds on it. But I just wanted to see how the fit up and all was looking firsthand. So I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm gonna unclamp this, go drill those holes, and I'll be right back. Well, there's the 3 holes for little rosette welds to attach that webbing, and everything is looking pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the welder and get this thing burned in. I've got that kick panel finished up. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm trying to get out of some of the glare. I've ground down the welds as much as they need to be. I'm actually going to leave them here, here, and here, my little spot welds. I'm going to leave that edge so you can see where it is. Now, it is going to be painted up, but if it ever gets stripped down again, like I did, if there's more rust and rot decades down the road, the next person will see where those are so they can drill them out easier without surprises. And I'll just leave these on this lap weld. It's really not going to be seen. And then I've got this ground down smooth enough to put the floor piece on top of that flange, because it's still going to be sandwiched down underneath another piece. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Next thing to do here is start trimming up the remainder of the floor to get it ready for the new replacement tailboard piece. I've got a little bit to figure out exactly where I'm gonna do my finish cut up here, just how big I want the panel to be. Part of why I made the repair on the main reason why I made the repair on the passenger side so big, even though the rust was really only in one small pocket, was the stamping. This like anti-vibration embossing, to keep that panel from drumming, add a little stiffness and support to it. I didn't want to have to jack around with trying to get that lined up between this replacement stamping and the factory one. Same thing over here. I've got this piece that it's stamped and goes all the way up to this support brace piece for the steering column. This is actually the lower steering column mount when it goes through the firewall. And on this one, it's actually in pretty good shape. And when I went to the far side of this and hit it with the wire wheel, it cleaned up and was smooth as well. So I think what I'm going to do is try and trim basically straight across about where the bottom of this bracket is, and maybe almost all the way across. The threads and stuff on these are not rusted and pitted. The exterior on this one is a little bit, but the threads internally look pretty good. So we'll just see if I want to like cut the floor patch up over and then maybe down and over here. I just don't want to have to try and match up that pressed in piece with the one I have on the new panel, because they're pretty good panels, but they're not quite perfect exactly how this other existing piece was, and I don't want to have to be doing pie cuts and hammering and all that kind of work. So anyway, that's what I'll be getting to next.